welcome back to episode 7 of Podcast with Setu. Here we're trying to bridge our past, present and future. So if you haven't seen our episode 6 where we talk about Nataraja and its significance on a cosmic level, please do so. We have our link down in the description below. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So now, since dance is all in our minds throughout this festive season, like I said in the previous episode, we will be continuing our talks with Mrs. Rema Madhu about the advantages and the beauty of Indian classical dance. So welcome ma'am back to our channel.
Thank you, Anuraag. And as always, I'm very glad to be a part of this great journey of yours, connecting the past with the present and future. And most importantly, I wish to thank the viewers for their, remarkable support and the interest that they have shown. Okay, so what do you want me to discuss today?
Actually, in the previous episode, one of our viewers commented and he asked a question. He wanted to know the difference between Indian classical dance and Western classical dance. And to this, I would also want to add, I want to know how beneficial is it physically, mentally and emotionally, and very specifically in the mind of a child.
Let me tell you that this question of yours is very dear to me. Over the past several years, I've been a strong advocate of this and drilling minds of the disciples and most importantly the parents that learning Indian classical dance enriches an individual. And not just an individual, mind you, it also enriches and benefits the community and the audience as well, because classical dancers have an holistic experience which brings it to the audience. Okay, before I delve deeper into this, let me just start with the Rasas. Now, there's no English equivalent meaning to the word Rasa. Maybe just the words emotion and expressiveness come to our mind, but Rasa is much, much more than that. There's a sloka, Sanskrit sloka, which beautifully describes this essence of Rasa. Yato hastas tato drishti, yato drishtis tato manaha, yato manahas tato bhavo, yato bhavos tato rasaha. Okay, the meaning of this is, wherever the hand goes, there the eyes follow. Where the eyes goes, the mind is there. Where the mind is, the bhava involves. And when the bhava is evolved, the expression is born. And that's when the pure joy is created. And this pure joy is rasa, which is not just the joy experienced by the dancer, but the audience as well. So, let me begin with this Navarasa. This is very common in almost all classical dances. It forms 9 types of rasa. That's why it's known as Navarasas. And this actually brings to life a combination of, physical movements, facial expressions, and then hand gestures, and also a thematic content. And it allows the dancer to convey very complex emotional experiences with depth and nuance.
So let me just interrupt you here. I think our viewers would understand it better if you created a scenario and explained it to them.
Oh, that's a very good idea. Okay, let's take Shiva himself as a hero and pick up several incidents which you can understand better. In fact, I had conceptualized and presented this Navarasas at GSIS some years back. Oh. So that may throw some light on what I'm trying to say today. Okay, let's begin with the Śṛngāra Rasa, which is the very first rasa. Now this is a rasa of romance and, happiness and even beauty. Now look at the scenario. Lord Shiva is in great penance after the death of Sati. And Manmata, the god of love, is entrusted with the job of rekindling love in Lord Shiva. So when Shiva comes out of his penance, he looks at Uma. And there's a beautiful reflection of this Śṛngāra Rasa, which just not the facial expressions and body movements, it's one single flow which is so melodious. And after that we have the Hāsya Rasa. Now, this rasa is one of joy and laughter. It involves certain, comical incidents and humorous situations. So now this demon king, Bhasmasura, prays to Lord Shiva and gets a boon. Now, according to the boon, when he places his palm on anyone's head, that person turns to ashes or bhasma.
Oh, so is it something like that Midas touch?
Yes, but this is total destruction. Now, once Bhasmasura gets this boon, he wanted to test it. And whom does he find right in front of him? Lord Shiva himself, who had given him the boon. So now Shiva does not know what to do and he starts to run away. And this is, very comical and humorous. Yeah.
Indeed, it's very funny. So then what happens next?
Oh, then Mahavishnu steps in the form of this stunning beauty Mohini. And this Mohini challenges Bhasmasura to a dance duel. And in the course of the dance, when it reaches the crescendo, she makes Bhasmasura place his palm on his own head and he turns to ashes, that is Bhasma. Okay, then we come to the next rasa, which is the Raudra rasa. Now, Raudra is all about fury and rage and anger and all, and it is characterized by very wild movements and fierce gestures. Now, Daksha insulted Sati for marrying Shiva. So, Sati immolates herself in the fire of Daksha's yajna. Now, when Shiva hears about this, he is so enraged, he takes the form of Veerabhadra and destroys everything that is in front of him. Now, this Raudra rasa is, characterized by very wild, as I previously said, wild movements, very fierce and strong and aggressive gestures. And in fact, this dance is also known as Rudra Tandava. Okay, from that Raudra rasa we come to this Karunya rasa. Now, this is full of pity and empathy, and it's characterized by compassionate gestures. Now, here we have taken the story of Markandeya. Markandeya is a very strong devotee of Lord Shiva, but he is destined to die at a very young age of 16. Now, when Yama comes to take away his life, Markandeya appeals and besieges Lord Shiva. And Shiva, being the compassionate one, he bestows him the boon to live forever. Okay, the next one rasa would be Bhayanaka. And actually, I've combined Bhayanaka and Veera rasa with one incident, which is Samudra Mantana.
Oh.
First, let me explain to you what Bhayanaka rasa is. This rasa involves, fear and confusion and, dismay all put in one. So, on the other hand, Veera rasa is all of heroism, valor and courage, and it's also characterized by very determined movements, foot movements and hand gestures and all. Okay, coming to the story, during the Samudra Mantana, that is the churning of the ocean by Asuras and Devas, because they wanted the Amrita, that is the elixir of immortality, from the ocean. But unfortunately, Hala Hala, a pot of poison, comes up first, and the Asuras and Devas are so scared, they run here and there not knowing what to do, because this poison could engulf the world and throw it into complete gloom. So this is where Lord Shiva takes the heroic step. He comes forward and consumes the poison. In fact, he doesn't swallow it because it's poison. He holds it in his throat, and that is why he's also called as Nilakanta. Okay, and the heroism that is portrayed, reflects the Veera rasa.
Yeah, I actually remember reading about this in the Samudra Mantana, where it is Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, Kamadhenu, Dhanavantri and Chandra, the moon god, along with many precious gems, and finally Amrita emerged out of the ocean.
Very true. And again, Mohini steps in and she distributes the Amrita only to the Devas and not to the Asuras. Well, that's another story altogether. Let's continue with our rasas. Okay, our next rasa is Adbhuta, which is a sense of wonder and amazement. This is characterized by gestures of awe and surprise, etc. Now, Bhagirath wanted to bring river Ganga, the mighty river Ganga, from the heavens to the earth. And Brahma warns him that, this great flow of Ganga might drown the entire world. So Lord Shiva agrees to channel the Ganga, and this is a, incident of great wonder and amazement when Shiva's his scattered matted hair, when he folds it and holds Ganga and lets out only a small flow to the earth. So that's the Adbhuta Rasa that we have shown in the Shiva's life. Now coming to the next one, it's Bhibhatsa Rasa. Now Bhibhatsa Rasa is one of disgust and repulsion and aversion. Frankly speaking, when you look at Shiva's natural form, I think this rasa is evoked, when you watch him. Because just imagine Shiva is smeared with ashes bhasma all over his body, and then he has this garland of skulls around his neck, and he has serpents on his hands and neck, and also it definitely would create a sense of, bhibhatsa when you view him.
Yes, very true. And I think now we are coming to the last form of Shiva, or the Navarasas.
Yes.
And it's actually very hard for me to now imagine him in a very peaceful or a calm form.
No, right, Shantarasa is the last one, and we have come to the end of it, but you're wrong. Shiva is the embodiment of this Shantarasa. Because, Shiva is always so calm and serene. When he's in a meditative mood, he's epitome of calmness and, as I said, serenity. And when he's with Devi Parvati, there's a beautiful blend of emotional and spiritual balance. So this depicts Shiva aptly.
Oh, wow. So this is just a great comparison of, Navarasas with the different stages or events in Lord Shiva's life. And I really have to congratulate you and, for composing such a beautiful dance piece and getting these kids and students to perform it as well. So let's get back to how beneficial is the Indian classical dance, and is there any data that actually substantiates it?
Thank you for that compliment. Yes, now moving on to the benefits part. Let me tell you the reason why I touched upon Rasa first was because this is one of the benefits of a classical dancer. Now, if you had observed this girl who had portrayed Lord Shiva, she had to portray a complex, varied, emotions, and that too in a matter of few minutes, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Now, this requires a lot of practice and, dedication. True. And this versatility actually helps a child in the overall development. Well, when you spoke about data, incidentally, there was a research conducted by the New England Journal of Medicine. They realized that dance lessens the onset of dementia, that it reduces the onset of dementia.
Okay.
The researchers tried several cognitive and physical activities, like, say, reading, cycling, playing musical instruments, and even crossword puzzles. Oh. But surprisingly, dance was the one which was very beneficial for the mind. And here I am trying to solve Sudoku puzzles every day when I have dance all along with me.
So, do all forms of dancing help, or?
No, not. And actually, this answers your viewer's question. The characteristics of an Indian classical dance is different from the Western dances, because we have symbolism and spirituality, which is a part of our culture. Every dancer, most of the dances that we perform convey the stories of our ancient texts and the sacred epics, right? And this is performed with great devotion and bhakti. So the dancer has to know about our culture, our history, about the sacred text, and thus this helps the dancer become an very active and expressive while performing this art. That's one aspect. And then this gives a holistic development to the dancer. Let me explain how. Now, when you learn a classical dance, a dancer has to memorize the adavus, the hand gestures. Now, just now what I explained, the Navarasas, emotions and all. Then she has to learn the music, and remember the lyrics of the music. And then the beat, fast tempo, small, slow tempo. And it has to sync with the mridangam and all.
True.
So, all this coordinates, help coordinate the mind of a dancer. Here I would like to just quote a small Sanskrit sloka. Yeah, it goes as thus. Kantena lambayet geetam, haste nartam pradarshayet, chakshapyam darshayet bhavam, padam talam acharet. Which means the dancer has to keep the music in her throat, okay? And her hands has to express the meaning of the music, that's the lyrics, through her hand gestures. And her face, especially the eyes, has to emote the bhava. And the feet all the time has to keep in time or in sync with the tala. A combination of all this is what Bharatanatyam is. As most of our dances are based on our culture and heritage, dancers obviously become the custodians and brand ambassadors of our history because they reach out to such a wide audience who could imbibe this history and culture and tradition of ours.
Yeah, now talking about wide audience, I think our cultural heritage or our cultural dances like Bharatanatyam and all has just spread across the entire globe. And I've seen so many YouTube videos of, other people from other cultures and all just, really getting into Bharatanatyam.
Very true. When I was young, my sister and I performed across India to a varied audience. And mind you, it was just not the Indian audience. There were several foreign dignitaries who were very well appreciated our dance. But some time back, I think people started moving away from this classical dance. The shift went away. But for the past decade or so, there's been a strong comeback of a classical dance, and I see parents encouraging their children to learn Indian classical dance, which is very heartening.
Yeah, very true. I mean, the opportunities today are much more as compared to maybe 20, 30 years ago, and especially with TikTok, YouTube or Instagram, I see a lot of people actually creating an identity for themselves.
I would just like to add to this a very important benefit. Dance is the only art where the right and left brains are involved. Let me just give you an example. We have a simple adavu, a short adavu, where we use the left hand with the right leg. So this is not very easy. This is where it activates both our brains, and this coordination helps in the development of the child.
I mean, this was really deep, and I hope our viewers will take note of this and help spread our culture, dance and heritage. So ma'am, thank you once again. I know these episodes have been short, and based on the amount of information you have given, I think just 1 or 2 episodes will not suffice. So please subscribe to our channel, like and hit that notification bell, because Ms. Rema Madhu will be coming back for another episode or so, and we'll be talking more about our Indian heritage, art and architecture. So ma'am, thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Anuraag. It was really a great pleasure being here and, supporting this journey of yours, Akhanda Setu. I'm sure these episodes will be very well received by your audience. And thank you for having me, and hope to have many more such sessions with you. Thank you and namaste.